Okay, tamam. Evet. Ben bu sayfadaydım. Yes, sorry. So if we continue, we can see that in the 2010s, by the advent of Arab Spring, we see the important the definition of power and interest was changed for Turkey and Iran. They have mutual accusation of the leaders. For example, in that time, yes, I think Prime Minister Erdogan just declared that Iran is going to dominate the region. And also Iranian commander of IRGC told that if we see any threat from Turkey if we see any threat from Turkey from the NATO defense and missile defense shield radar, we're gonna attack or we're gonna hit that place. So we see that there are some problems in that time, but in the same time, interestingly, we see Iran and Turkey just came to about in the $22 billion, which is something that in the past period we didn't see. And so we see the formation of high-level strategic cooperation council, professional trade agreement.
È lui che...
These are the things we see in the middle of the crisis, Syrian and Arab Springs. So we see that both this theory, which talks about cooperation between states and how to institutionalize this cooperation, was actually sometimes valid, but sometimes not valid. And so what is our main findings and argument? And so in fact, within the framework of this approach, it has been concluded that the two countries experience more suitable developments, but only a partial authorization of this theory in the 2010s. This is because mainly they have different definition of power and interest, especially in the regional relations. This is comes to the if you want to relate it, they have a lot of different aspects that are influencing the relations in the regional context. I mean, to separate, this is very important, political and security competition and struggle from influencing their economic cooperation. So actually, this is what we saw. But in this same theory, if we just compare, for example, with Saudi Arabian-Iran relations or with the Egypt and Turkey relations, we couldn't see that they separate the economy and the political actually could do this, even though the trades are not high. So interdependence is yes, as I told you, is valid in this period. Is valid in the 2010-2020, and the last thing that which is important, Iran-Turkey relations must be evaluated in 3 levels: domestic, regional, international system. But in our study, we saw that the most level of study is the regional base, because they are very contacted and engaged in this level. And so yes, so the conclusion is that Iran-Turkey's definition of interest power has varied from realism to liberal institutions, especially in politics. Sometimes they different their interest was different. They define it, but sometimes not. So in this context, they view that in order to reach their interest, they have to either cooperate or struggle. And so if we just want to boost their economy in this context, they actually have to eliminate, they have to come to the norms and to the norms in their relations, economic relations. For example, eliminate trade barriers, abolish and reduce custom duties, and also not reflecting political security problems among their economic relations. And what is important that they should actually boost their bilateral trade is Turkey must buy oil from Iran, and also Iran shouldn't put a lot of finished materials products. So this is, in this case, Iran have money to, when Turkey buys oil, Iran have money, and then it can buy products from Iran. And so this goes. In this case, the both countries can boost their trading goods a lot. Will be so not. I won't argue that like European Union, like Germany or France, but it will be somehow boosted and increased. So yes, my presentation is finished. Thanks for watching it.
Thank you so much for your presentations, and also we are sorry about the problem. And now we may continue with Dr. Marco Marsili from Italy. Please go ahead.
Then thanks very much, Mohammad, for having switched your presentation with mine. Now, I think that I'm able. I think that now you see. I think that now you're able to see my presentation. So thanks very much once again. And this presentation, the topic of my presentation is somehow linked with the previous presentation. I mean, there's an economical approach that should be deserves to be deepened, and I think that we can have a discussion after the end of the panel. So I'd like to address the outcoming after 40 years of the Iranian revolution that has lights and shadows, because after 45 years after the 1979 revolution, which overthrew the last Shah, the Islamic Republic, as it was of Iran, as it was renamed, the country, was able to achieve to many significant results and 4 decades of social, economic, diplomatic, and military advancements. But despite of this period of prosperity, of growth on different areas, Iran faced also problems that still have to be fixed, and new challenges that the political leadership has to fix. So it's during the 45 years that passed since the Iranian Revolution, we are assisting to a couple of political diplomatic failures that so far limit the growth, the further growth of the country. So some controversial choices, some episodes in the past, but are rooted in the past, but that are still producing their effects in present time, and do not facilitate at all the relationship with the Western countries. On the contrary, difficult this makes this relationship more difficult. The takeover of the U.S. embassy in Tehran that occurred in 1979 is still in the memory of the U.S. government, so it's something that was not able to overcome yet. And the military and financial support to Syria, to Iraq, despite the 10 years war that occurred, and the financial support to Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the difficult relationship with Saudi Arabia, all this anti-American sentiment, anti-Israeli posture, and anti-Semitic, plus the controversial nuclear program alienated the sympathy of Western powers that could have looked at the beginning to the Iranian revolution as with sympathy as the end of a regime, a kleptocratic regime, and the opening for a era of democracy. So the Islamic Republic has survived along the last 45 years, despite this acute enmity from the US and Israel. And as I said before, despite the long war against Iraq. And so, and 4 decades of various forms of economic sanctions that hit the country, starting from the famous takeover of the US embassy in Tehran, and ending up with the nuclear program that has not been accepted by the Western powers and the United States firstly. So the problem is how the current Iranian leadership will be able to come up with a new model, with a proposal that it fits better, suits better the Western model of democracy that should be not exported as an hamburger, I mean, because each country has its own heritage, its cultural heritage, and different religious beliefs, and different ethics, and also different morals that in this case are rooted deeply in the Quran. So it's not possible to export to countries that have so different customs, to export the model, the Western democracy model, but somehow there are some cornerstone core principles that are that characterize a democracy, like the rule of law, and of course the freedom of religion, and the respect for fundamental human rights that apply to any kind of democracy, despite the different nuances or shades of democracy, because of course there are many democracies. Most of the countries all over the world describe themselves as democracies, like China, Russia, and so on. The United States itself, and the UK, and so on. So, but they have different regimes, and there are different levels, different nuances of democracy. But that ones are the core principles of democracy. So the question is whether the current Iranian leadership will be able to grant to the population this fundamental rights and freedoms that characterize a democracy. Iran is one of the latest contemporary theocracies in the world, apart from Saudi Arabia, that is one of its neighbors, and the Vatican, that is it's old, but it's the only absolute monarchy located in the heart of Europe, And of course, it's also a theocracy, and it's, as I said before, located in the very heart of Europe and the European Union. So Iran should strive to introduce reforms which are strongly demanded by the people, as we have assisted to the protests in the last years that occurred regularly. So is censorship that is too much strong, and of course it doesn't switch to democratic principles. Should progress with human rights and the respect for gender equality, and should restrict state intervention in the economy and pass electoral reforms. So there is this strong and ongoing demand for reforms stemming from the population. It's a genuine demand for reforms. It's not driven by external actors. Just you can say, for instance, in Ukraine or in other situations, like the so-called Arab Spring. When the protests were prompted by Western powers somehow, but in Iran it seems that this protests, like in Egypt during the end of the Mubarak regime, before Morsi came to power, that one were genuine protests and a genuine demand for a change, a political, economical change, for the openness, for civil liberties and fundamental human rights. So the crackdown that followed the protest by the Revolutionary Guard Corps that broken out since 2017, bringing to the attention of the public opinion, the broader public, not only in Iran, of course, but on the world stage. So this demanding for reforms have raised public outrage, not the demanding, but the crackdown of the protests. And another issue is the issue of the nuclear program after the U.S. withdrawal from the Joint Comprehensive Plan on Action in 2018 and the civil unrest against the government that were associated with the death of Masha Amini while she was in custody of the guidance patrol. The image on the world stage and before the public opinion, the image of Iran was further deteriorated, as further deteriorated, and is still considered maybe a naval state. Because after 20 years from the famous speech by President George Bush, who characterized Iran jointly with North Korea and Iraq as an axis of evil that threatened the peace of the world, Iran is still, so far, is still considered by the United States government and by its allies like the European Union and other Western powers as an evil state, and is still blacklisted by the US Department of State as a state sponsor of terrorism, jointly with Cuba, North Korea, and Syria. So there are a few countries remaining on the list of the bad ones, but this limits, jointly with the economical sanctions that were adopted by the United States since then, and implemented also by the European Union and the other allies. The economic sanctions impacted on on Iran's economy, but these sanctions do not only impact on the Iranian economy, but they do do impact also on the quality of life of the population, of the overall population, a negative impact on the life of the Iranian population. On the other side, Iran would enormously benefit from the withdrawal of the lifting of the economic sanctions, and in this way, the leadership would be able to achieve what is set forth in Article 12 of the Constitution of Iran, which sets the regime's goals: a fair economy based on Islamic criteria to create welfare and eliminate poverty and deprivation in the areas of nutrition, housing, employment, health, and insurance. So if the current leadership of Iran wants in practice to improve what is set forth what is provided by the Constitution of Iran, should first behave in a way that creates the conditions for the economic sanctions to be suspended, waived. So this is at the conclusion that there is a genuine and strong popular demand for political reforms and for the respect of fundamental human rights that is ongoing since at least 2017 and maybe before, but not in this so clear way. And Iran needs urgent institutional reforms to meet international standards, international democracy standards, as we have said before. So political reforms, economical reforms. The state should not control the economy in this strict way. And this is a real challenge for the leadership, the current leadership. And so the question is whether the current leadership is able to reform itself, to reform the political system from the inside, and to get the country out of this long-term ongoing isolation, thus bringing Iran into a new era of prosperity and achieving what is set forth in Article 12 of the Constitution of Iran. So thanks very much. Sorry once again for the problems that I have faced during my first attempt on delivering my presentation, and we will have. I will be happy to take your questions at the end of this panel. And so these are my contacts, and that's all. Thanks very much, everybody.
Okay, Dr. Marco Marsili, thank you so much for your presentation. And now the last panelist, Dr. Günay Verdiyeva from Azerbaijan. Dr. Verdiyeva, now we'll listen to you. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Is that possible to turn your camera? Okay, that's better.
Let me introduce me. My name is Günay Verdiyeva. I'm doctor. I'm associated professor, PhD, Department of Iranian Philology of the Institute of Oriental Studies of National Academy of Sciences of Azerbaijan. My scientific area is linguistic, and my theme of my scientific work is comparison between Persian and Azerbaijani language, comparison terminology and terms in modern Persian and Azerbaijani language. My topic borrowed technical terms in modern Persian and Azerbaijani languages. Unfortunately, I have no presentation. I'll speak only. The process of creating terms in the word has become intense starting from the beginning of the 20th century. The tendency towards the formation of new words is observed in almost all languages of the world. First of all, this is due to scientific and technological progress and the emergence of new technologies. The enrichment of the terminological system of both Persian and Azerbaijani language is a dynamically developing process. In recent years, the dictionary of both languages has been replenished with many terms denoting a new event or process. In many instances, these words are the terms relating to technical development and industry borrowed from European languages. Every year, the lexis of the modern Persian language is replenished with dozens of words, terms related to a certain field of sciences. Scientific and technical terminology is the most flexible and mobile part of the vocabulary of any language. As you know, a term is a word or phrase used in a particular science or activity, which necessarily expresses a specific concept and at the same time is in close connection with other language units and terminological system. Terms play an important role in the process of cognition and development of the word as they define specific scientific and technical concepts. As we know, there are many terms in Persian language which were built in Persian language. For example, we can say Rayane, computer, and we say Safi, Kelit, keyboard, Chopker, printer. But there are many terms which were built in European languages, in English language, in French, and etc. Note that the words included in the dictionary of the Persian language in recent years are mainly used technical and industrial terms. For example, laptop, monitor, site, virus, tractor, etc. As can we see from the examples, many of these words are also used in the Azerbaijani language. In modern Persian language, there is a constant intense flow of new lexical units called neologism. Namely, for systematic organization of this process, a special body has been operating in Iran for 30 years, a state organization, the Academy of the Persian Language and Literature, Farhangestane Zaban o Adab Farsi, whose main task is to control the borrowed words and create neologisms. The words approved by the Academy are included in special collections, dictionaries. As a result of the efforts of the staff of the Academy, thematic terminological dictionaries have been created, such as Hezar Vaje Pezeshki, a dictionary of medical terms, Hezar Vaje Shimi, a dictionary of chemical terms, Hezar Vaje Fizik, a dictionary of terms for physics, and etc. There is a research department, Goruhi Pajouheshi, whose main task is to search for equivalents of foreign words and create new terms. Within the framework of these departments, there are about 50 specialized groups in various thematic areas. About 200 specialist works here. There are several separate coordinating councils, which include both philologists and specialists in this field. The picture of formation of terms in the Azerbaijani language is similar. The Terminological Commission of the Azerbaijan Republic, established by the decree of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, dated May 29, 2012, and operating under the Cabinet of Ministers, controls the process of term formation in the Azerbaijani language. This organization published the terminological dictionaries containing new terms, selects substitute words for borrowed words, etc. At present, as in many languages of the world, in connection with scientific and technological progress and the development of advanced technologies, there is an increasing tendency in the Azerbaijani language to acquire a term of word denoting a new concept or event. Over time, the words of the language themselves can be formed from its resources, but these words don't always remain in the language or are rarely used. As we can see, the process of term formation in both languages is a rather dynamic and continuously developing process and needs a more thorough analysis by the linguist. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. And now we have time for questions. If you have any question, you can ask. Okay, do you have anyone who would like to ask a question? I think all presentations are very interesting, but I'm not familiar with this area so much, and but you are most familiar with this area. Maybe you can ask some questions. If there is no question, I can close the session if you want.
May I want to wish good luck to your Congress, to our Congress, and thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank all panelists for participating and sharing your knowledge with us. I think it was a useful and instructive session. I wish everyone a good day. See you in the next panels. Thank you.
For sure. Thanks very much, everybody, to the colleagues, the panelists, and to the organization. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Emrah. Thank you again.
Thanks, Mohammad.
Thank you, Dr. Marso and Mrs. Günay. Hope to see you. Bye.
Thanks.